I'm Sarah, and I am certain I'm going to talk about math today. And it is possible that I will eat chocolate, and it is impossible to stand in the corner of a circular room. Today, I want to give you a glimpse into Minnesota 2022 benchmark 1.1.2.1. It comes from Anchor Standard 2, the Chance and Uncertainty standard, and that is brand new in a lot of the elementary grades. And so I want to talk about what the benchmark describe outcomes of events as impossible, possible, or certain. I don't know if you heard me use those words. That's the benchmark. In fact, it's the only benchmark in first grade from Anchor Standard 2. You'll notice that it has a couple math practice there. Math practice 6 happens to be attending to precision, in this case, a precision of language, and you'll see that in this quick glimpse into this benchmark. And it also has one of the Dimension 2 contexts, real world. And I would say this whole benchmark should be taught in a context. And so I want to give you just a couple ideas because your students arrive to you in first grade already having some language around chance and uncertainty. When they're playing games at home with their parents, like this is the game Uno, maybe a lot of people have played, they might, when someone plays a draw force, they might say, or someone they're playing with will say, I'm never going to win. I have to keep drawing cards. And that word never is in the language of this benchmark. Or maybe they only have one card left and they shout out, Uno! And someone says, or they think, I'm for sure going to win. When they say for sure, that's the language of this benchmark. And I'll explain your goal. The only goal you have around chance and uncertainty in first grade is to build the language of chance and uncertainty. And so it starts by building the language of extremes. And the thing that's going to be hard about this is your students arrive to you with a lot of black and white thinking, and they think of everything is in extremes. Like they will say, we never get to go outside. I never get to walk at the front of the line. And everything is always and never. The hardest part of this benchmark is building this big middle and seeing that everything else other than the extremes, the word you want to be developing in first grade is the word possible. Now, most of your first graders will not arrive with these three words in their vocabulary. And so what you're going to do as a teacher is build off what they naturally bring, because they actually bring all these words, not these precise words, but the ideas of these words with them when they arrive. And so I've already talked about the words always and never on the extremes. You always call on me in class, but really they probably don't always get called on, and that actually exists somewhere in the possible. And so your job is going to be taking the language that they naturally come with at extremes. They might also come with values and numbers that they've heard their parents say, I'm 100% sure this is going to happen. I'm 200% sure. Are you? And then you want to start connecting that to the precise language of this first grade benchmark. And so what that looks like in my class, hey, we always do math at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, is you are going to talk about, we're certain to do math at 1 p.m. More than likely, it's possible because someday at 1 p.m. you might have a field trip or other things. And so then that's where you build this huge middle that's in the middle. It might look like this in your classroom. You might have an anchor chart or chart paper that you use every day for a couple weeks when you talk about going outside, maybe during recess. If we go outside today, and play today, what's something we're certain for sure going to do? And students might brainstorm that we're going to play with friends. And you might ask them what's possible, and they might say, hey, it's possible. Sometimes we see dogs. We might see a dog. There's a chance we'll see a dog. It's possible that we'll see a dog when we're outside. And what's something that's impossible? Oh, we're never going to get to ride a roller coaster today. There's not one out there. And so they might talk, and you could just bring this into going to lunch. What's something you're certain possible and impossible is going to happen? And having all kinds of sentence frames around using these words. Notice you don't have to use these as part of your math block. You can be learning this benchmark outside of the benchmark in other parts of the days. Another place you might use it is, I am certain that you have Do you see me using a word there? Storybooks, and that you read storybooks in your first grade classroom. I included one from when I was a youth, and then I also included one from a Minnesota author. And I chose this author because Rochester Public Schools has someone reading it aloud. I have the link below of a YouTube video if you want to hear that other book. And here's a screenshot of that video. And maybe you have an anchor chart up with these three words. And as you're reading any storybook, you stop and you try and use one of these words. What's something we're certain this little girl is going to do with her grandmother? We're certain she's going to eat berries from her grandmother's backyard. Maybe when you're playing games in your classroom, a favorite game of mine is Connect Four. Students might say, if they're playing red, it's possible I'm going to win. I could win. There's a chance. And they play a piece, and then somebody who's playing yellow is like, I am certain for sure I'm going to win. And they play their piece, and sure enough, Connect Four, yay! But someone's playing purple, and they don't even have chips, and it's impossible for me to win because I'm not even in the game. But this is a favorite graphic that I've used in middle school to review all this language in the progression of the language that they're learning within this anchor standard. And I asked students to describe the bags full of marbles, and these are the words that they come up with. And you'll see the word impossible and certain here, but everything in the middle is that possible. You're not going to yet build the language of unlikely or equally likely, but you might start building likely because that's a second grade benchmark. That word is another word you'll add to the vocabulary. Your job is to build the two extremes of impossible and certain and use the word possible to describe all those things in the middle. That's simply your job in Anchor Standard 2 and Benchmark 1.2.1. And if you have questions, I'd love for you to comment along. And I hope that you'll join us every Sunday night at 6 p.m. to listen in to another Benchmark of the Week video. And please subscribe and hang out with the Minnesota Council of Teachers of Mathematics.